Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to go ahead and talk about my summer TBR and the 5 series that I plan on trying to complete and or start and finish by the end of the summer. And what I consider the summer months would be June, July, and August. So I have 2 series here that I plan on finishing, and then I have 3 other series that I hope to start and finish. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first series that I am hoping that I'm able to complete, because I've read the first 2 books in the series already, and that is the Mistborn series. And I'm not going to go into any explanation about what that series is, because I feel like it's a series that everybody has already talked about. There are already tons of videos about what that series is and what it's about. We don't need to go into it. I am probably one of the last people that has read the series, so this is gonna be real quick. So we have The Final Empire, which I read probably almost 2 years ago now. So yeah, it's been a while for that. And then we have The Well of Ascension, which I actually just finished about 2 months ago. And then I'm hoping to finish The Hero of Ages sometime this summer. So this is pretty high up on my priority list. So the next series that I want to talk about is by an author that I feel like is being talked about a lot here on BookTube lately for a completely different book. And that is the author TJ Klune, who is the author of The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I have the book and I have not read it yet, but I have started this series. And the series that I'm talking about is the Green Creek series, and the first book in that series is Wolfsong. And I haven't heard too many people on BookTube talking about it, but the first book in the series, obviously, like I said, is Wolfsong. And then the next book that we have is Ravensong, and then we have Heartsong. And then the latest book that came out in the series, I believe, was at the end of last year, is Brothersong. And there are a few novellas in between these, I believe. I think it's like 2 or 3 novellas that I do plan to read in between these books. And if you don't know, the first book in the series, Wolfsong, follows our main character Ox when he was around 12 years old. And we follow him as his father just walked out on him and his mother. And they live in this town called Green Creek. I really hope that is what the name of this series is. If it's not, I will put down the correct name of the series here in the bottom if that's not the correct name, but I really think that is the correct name. And they live in this small town, and we're actually following him as he is growing up in this town. So we're following him from age 12, I think from age 16, through high school, through college. And while he is growing up in this town, they end up getting some neighbors by the name of the Bennetts, and it consists of the mother, the father, I think it's 3 brothers, and he ends up growing this attachment to the younger brother by the name of Joe. And it's a weird attachment because this younger boy is just like out of nowhere just attached to him like glue. They're like attached like glue. And come to find out in this story, and I'm going to be real vague because on the back of this book is real vague, we find out that there's werewolves in this story. We have a witch that's, in this story. There is a male-male romance. It's a lot that's going on in this, and I really enjoyed this. One of the complaints that I saw in regards to this book that a lot of people didn't like was that the male-male romance and the age gap. It is a pretty big age gap, but when they meet, when the 2 characters that end up starting a relationship, when they meet, there is a huge age gap, but they don't start a relationship until years down the line, so that age gap really doesn't make a difference. in my opinion. So I didn't have a problem with it. I enjoyed this. I've heard some people compare this to like Twilight and how this was like a better adult version of Twilight, and I would have to agree. I really enjoyed this. I did only rate this a 4 stars at the time that I read it, and that was because there were points in the story where I felt like it was kind of slow, but my overall enjoyment was really good, and I really liked it, especially the last like third of the book really picked up, and there was like a lot of action. Again, I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything, because this book turned out to be about something that I just wasn't expecting. And then I don't want to give too much away because I heard that each of the books in the series turns out to be about different characters, and I don't know what happens to each characters in the book because characters do die in this book. So I don't want to like spoil what happens, because based off what happens to characters in this book will depend on who's going to show up in the next book. So I just don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But if you like TJ Klune's The House in the Cerulean Sea and you are looking for another book of his, I would definitely check out Wolfsong, especially if you're looking for a romance and you like male romance. I would definitely check this out. And if you're a fan of Twilight, I would definitely check this out. So the next series that I want to start is a adult sci-fi trilogy, which I feel like I saw people talking about it a few years ago, and then I didn't really see anybody talking about it for a while, and then all of a sudden I started seeing people talk about it again. And I don't really know, where that came from, but now I'm interested in it. And I went ahead and actually bought all 3 books, because even though I still don't know exactly what these books are about, it just sounds like something that I would be interested in. And I am trying to kind of dip my toes into science fiction a little bit. I'm interested in it, and that is the Red Rising trilogy by Pierce Brown. So the first book in the story is Red Rising, and then we have Golden Sun, and then we have Morning Star. And like I said, I don't really know what this trilogy is about. I kind of heard that it is, at least the first book anyway, it's kind of like a adult version of The Hunger Games. And I love The Hunger Games. I actually read that series for the first time last year. I know I was late for that as well, but I actually really love that. So anything that is compared to The Hunger Games, I'm all for it. So I even tried to read the back of this to try to figure out what this was about, but I still don't know. All this says on the back is, his wife taken, his people enslaved, driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Daryl will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if it must become one of them to do so. That doesn't give much, but a lot of the people whose reviews I follow and trust really seem to love this series. And I think that there is a series that comes after this one that follows the same character of Darrow. So, and they seem to really love that one too. So I am just excited to get started. And this is another one that I am prioritizing. So the first 3 series that I talked about, so we have The Mistborn, we have The Green Creek, and The Red Rising. Those are the 3 that I'm for sure trying to get through this summer. Now, the next 2 that I'm going to talk about, if I don't get through them this summer, I'm fine with that. Even if I could just start the first book in those series, I will be fine with that. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Ember in the Ashes by Taba Tahir. So we have The Ember in the Ashes, A Torch Against the Night, Reaper at the Gates, and the most recent one is A Sky Beyond the Storm. And I think this is the one that came out the end of this year or last year, I think. So I've actually had my eye on this series for a really long time, and I had actually planned to read this a while ago, but then when I saw that 2 more books were going to be released in the series, I was like, well, I'll just wait until I get all the books in the series. So that's what I did. And so here we are. So apparently this story is about our main character, Leia, I think it's Leia, whose brother was arrested for treason, and then she has to break in or spy on this military academy to try to get her brother back, and then the story takes off from there, from all that I know. A lot of people really love this series, and I'm really upset because some really pretty covers came out from this that I wasn't able to get, but I am really excited for this, and I hope that I can finish this series by the summertime. If I can't, if I can at least start this, I'll be happy with that. But this is definitely one of those series that I've had on my shelves for a long time that I'm ready to just read and get through and be finished. So the last series that I have on my summer TBR that I'm hoping that I can get to, but again, if I can only at least get to the first book, I'll be happy with that. And that is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. And I think this series is called the Imperium Trilogy. And so the first book is Furyborn, then we have Kingsbane, and then we have Lightbringer. So I've been wanting to read this one for a while, but funny thing is I have only seen people read the first one. I have not seen people review the first or the second and the third book in this series, which makes me kind of nervous because I feel like I've heard people say good things about this first book, but I have no idea what people think about the trilogy as a whole. So I'm kind of interested to see what I'm going to think about this first book and if I am going to want to continue on to the second and third books, especially since I bought them already. So the only thing that I really know about this story is that it is told from the perspective of 2 different characters by the name of Raelle and Eliana, and they're told from both of their perspectives, but in 2 different time periods set like 1,000 years apart. And eventually in the story, their timelines will intersect with each other, but the premise is they are trying to save their worlds, is what I gathered from the description of this story. So I am interested in this. Again, the people who I've seen review this book said that they really enjoyed it. So I think that I will. But I'm not really sure now because, like I said, I've never seen anybody review the second or third book. So I'm kind of nervous going into this one. But again, like I said, if I only make it to the first one within these 3 months, I'll be happy with that. So that's all that I have for you guys today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.